Kim Eddleston with Entrepreneur and Innovation Exchange and FamilyBusiness.org. And it's a pleasure to be here today with Giovanna Campopiano, who's Senior Lecturer and Director of the Center for Family Business at Lancaster University's Management School. And she's an expert in studying women in family business. And that's the focus of our interview today. Thank you for joining us, Giovanna.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for the invitation. I'm really eager to talk about this with you.
Excellent. I think what you're sharing is going to have a lot of impact and be helpful to a lot of family businesses. So given all of your research on women's involvement in family businesses, what are the main challenges women face in managing a family business?
Yeah, thanks, Kim. That's a very important and relevant question regarding women's involvement in family business. So when we try to look at the role and activities that women face and place into the family business. And one of the some of the main, let's say, issues, I would say, can be related either to the career women might consider within a business owned and managed by their family, but also whether they might have the interest, motivation, and stimulus to start or continue an activity within the family business. So, for example, in a study that we have done with some colleagues, we have seen that women often face some barriers, for example, in terms of glass ceiling, what is called the glass ceiling, so getting to the highest positions, or facing these so-called, let's say, it's a man job because of maybe some industries, especially in manufacturing, where traditionally men have been, in a sense, the leaders in the business. And often they really face, let's say, a credibility or legitimacy challenge. So they have to prove that they can do that job as well as others, as male can do. Another core issue, but this is very context dependent, and it really matters also where we look these family firms, where family firms are, relates, for example, to these norms like the primogeniture that looks like a very ancient thing, but in reality somehow as also in an informal way still works. I have in mind a very interesting case that I'm looking at of a construction company where there are 3 families involved that own the shares of this business. And all of these 3 founders have involved their kids. And interestingly, each of these family have 1 son and 1 daughter. And it's very interesting to follow over time how they have involved their kids into the business. So in one of these family, let me say family branch, for example, the daughter joined the business because there was a maternity leave of an employee. And so suddenly they needed someone to take that job, that role. It was in a marketing position. While hearing the words of the father, the son has almost been doomed to take over the business, to be part of the business. In another family branch, the logic is a little bit different, and it's interesting to hear the words of the father who says, no, I really want both of my kids, my daughter and my son, to take their role in the business. Of course, each of them based on their expertise and their educational background. And so you can see that although this is a business that is based in the same place, so where you expect that culture, in a sense, plays in the play the same role, in reality, in different families, there might be different logics. And I found this extremely interesting, at least.
That is very interesting. So I have to ask you as a follow-up, when you're starting to see some of the differences between almost family culture and values, what are those types of families that tend to be more likely to support their women joining their family business?
Well, in a sense, we can say that these are families that really feel that each of their kids can be a potential successor for the business. So they believe that everyone has equal opportunities to learn, to get acquainted to the business, and to join the parents into the business. If you like, maybe another interesting aspect would be, what is the right timing for the succession process to happen? And I have the feeling, of course, research on this aspect related to gender is still very, very small, and there is a lot to do about that. But I have the feeling that the right time is not the same if you are a son or if you are a daughter. Yet, I would say also it's very interesting to observe what happens when, for example, there are only daughters. And I have a very interesting example in mind of a company in the third generation, where the first generation business was started by a woman who had only sons. And the last son actually in the end took over and innovated a lot the business and made it grow exponentially, really. And this second generation had 3 daughters. All of them somehow were raised with the idea we can contribute to our family business, because in a sense they were also raised going, for example, to the business premises where the grandma's house was very close, and they were, for example, having these Sunday lunches plus business visit. And of course, for them, it was an option, a very feasible option to be part of the family business when they grew up. And at the moment, of course, now they are in their 40s, they all actually joined the family business, even if in different roles and taking different responsibilities. So that's also very interesting. Yet, and here the culture and values maybe have an effect. They often talk, and especially the CEO, who is the older of these daughters, who says, I have still this feeling that I have to prove my dad, who is retired, but still sometimes come to the meetings. I have to prove that I can make the decisions, even if formally I am the CEO of the company. So there is always a little bit this feeling of I have the baton, but I have still to demonstrate what I can do in the business, even if I think she's very much innovating, changing the way of doing things, the strategic direction of the business. But in her words, you could feel this, yes, I'm the decision maker, I'm the boss, but I have still to prove to my dad that I'm doing well somehow.
Really interesting. Thank you. It does. I remember early research actually did talk about the difference in families where young boys were more likely to be brought to the place of business and introduced versus women. So I love that story about those women being groomed at a young age. Excellent. Very, very nice. Although hopefully that woman you're working with who's still trying to prove herself, hopefully she's gaining some confidence, which I think a lot of successors, often struggle with, but it might be more, we don't even know, it might be more of an issue with women, because we're so glad you're doing research like this, but there's actually not that much research enough research on women in family business. So you brought up succession. What are the triggers and barriers that can either help or hinder daughters in particular in joining their family businesses and taking over leadership?
Yeah, I mean, as I also mentioned before, one I would say barrier is this let's say rule, sometimes informal rule that exists in some families, that a man or a son is actually almost doomed, no, to take over the business, as in the previous story I was mentioning, while women might not be considered eligible for this position. Even if this is changing, and I repeat myself, but this is very context dependent. So there might be some context and different families in which this might still be true, and in others in which is radically changing. While among the triggers, I would also mention that it's much more easy to see women who prepare themselves and study also, so regarding their educational background, that follow basically the roots in a sense. So they actually start since they have in their young age to prepare themselves for taking over the business. So they want to make sure I have the skills, I have the capabilities to do that, and I'm showing you that I have the motivation actually since younger age to do that. So I think this is also one important trigger. So having this motivation and creating, in a sense, and acquiring the skills and competencies to become the leader of the business at a later stage.
What is your advice for these business owning families looking to either introduce and educate their young women and hopefully get their involvement in the family business? What's your advice?
I think that with respect to 200 years ago, where we have seen many family firms missing opportunities just because women were not really considered as potential eligible successors, one simple advice would be just make all the kids, independently of gender, play and grow and be groomed within the business. Somehow it can be an internship when they are teenagers. It could be joining Christmas dinners where anyway there is some information given also about the business. Family events are very important moments in which I believe, so as a kind of informal governance tool, to really create, first of all, the bonding within the family, but also giving, in a very sometimes informal way, information about the business. Like to say, without putting too much pressure on the next gen members, this is an opportunity, this is an option. Keep it in mind while you grow up. Of course, it should be avoided to do, on the other hand, the mistake to force people into the business, because some kids might have completely different ideas for their future. And I think aspirations of the individuals should be anyway followed. And there are very interesting examples of also women who might have desired to do something else, and maybe they were joining the business, but maybe in the accounting, let's say, function, or in the marketing function. I heard people saying, well, I'm here to help my dad, or I'm here to help my parents. But you feel that they are happy, but not completely satisfied about their career choice somehow. So I feel that sometimes it's easy to go to the other extreme, forcing kids to help somehow or join the family business. And so in a sense, I really think that helping, supporting kids and daughters in particular to reflect also on what they would like to do, what they would like to study. So already when they are teenagers or young adults, to think what to do and how to let's say find a balance between creating your own private personal life and at the same time contribute in an active way to your family business. And I see a lot of women who have managed to do so, and others who are happy to help, but sometimes you have the feeling they could still work on themselves, but also discuss probably with the other members of the family firm, and in particular their parents, about their responsibilities. So like they would like just to shift a little bit role into their family business. So just reflect on what you would really like to do.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Giovanna Campopiano. And we'll include some links, particularly to your phenomenal article on women in family business. Thank you again. This is Kim Eddleston with Entrepreneur and Innovation Exchange and FamilyBusiness.org. Thank you so much.